Good morning. I'm Vice Mayor Shanique Smith and the Chair of Boards and Commissions Committee. And I'd like to welcome you to the August 24th remote meeting. We're having a little technical difficulties. That's why we're delayed, but welcome. All of our council committee members and staff are participating virtually. If our audience follow along, I'll state each section of the agenda aloud. We are streaming live on our virtual engagement hub, which is accessible through the virtual engagement hub link on the front page of the city's website. We also have an option for the public to listen live by phone. For all of you out there with us today, welcome. For today's meeting, we do have an option for people to call in and comment live during the meeting. Right now, we're having a little issue with our speaker queue, so we'll delay the first public comment section to the end to see if we can resolve that issue. But if you want to call in and comment live, please use the same number, 855-925-2801, meeting code 9478. Your phone will be muted and you will hear that you're in the meeting live. You may not hear a prompt at that time, but when we open your mic to give your comment, you'll hear one of us tell you good morning and you can begin speaking. But hopefully by the end of the meeting, when we open up public comment, that will be resolved. At that point, when you put in 9478, you will need to push *3 to enter the speaker queue. I'll now go through and introduce all the committee members and staff who are participating with us virtually. I'll call each person by name. Just give us a quick hello. Councilwoman Antoinette Mosley.
Good morning.
Councilwoman Kim Roney.
Hello.
Deputy City Clerk Sarah Gross.
Good morning.
Assistant Clerk Jerry Goldberg.
Good morning.
All right. Good morning to you all. Can I get a motion to approve the July 27th minutes?
So moved.
Second.
All right. I'll do a roll call vote. Please say aye to approve the minutes. Councilwoman Mosley.
Aye.
Councilwoman Roney.
Aye.
And myself, aye. The minutes have been approved. We'll move down to, normally we'll have public comment, but seeing that nobody's chimed in, I guess our issue is not resolved. So we'll move on to the August board appointments. For the African American Heritage Commission, we have one vacancy. We have no recommendations received. We've gone through a couple cycles of this with no recommendations from the board chair. Any comments from the committee?
Yes. Madam Vice Mayor, I did have the opportunity to once again speak to the board chair, and there was someone who was interested, but by the time that person, she'd spoken to him, we'd already closed out. That application has come in, but it was after the date. So my hope is that we can continue it one more time, and then at next month's meeting, we'll be able to make an appointment, a recommended appointment.
Okay, we'll re-advertise for that, but it'd be great if that committee would get us more applications. So we have a bountiful selection. We move on to the Board of Electrical Examiners. There is one vacancy for a journeyman. The staff liaison has recommended the appointment of Rick Sluter. Are there any recommendations for appointment from the committee?
So this is Kim. I just wanted to say that I was glad to see 2 of the IBEW Local 238 apply for this position. And I am prepared to make a motion for Rick to be appointed to the Board of Electrical Examiners.
I'll second.
All right. I'll do a roll call vote. Councilwoman Mosley.
Aye.
Councilwoman Roney.
Aye.
And myself, aye. Motion carries. The Historic Resource Commission has one vacancy. No recommendations received. Is there a recommendation from the committee?
I noticed that we don't have a representative from East or West Asheville, and Amanda Volrath is from West Asheville. So I would move that we make a recommendation to appoint Amanda to the Historic Resources Commission.
I'll second.
All right, do a roll call vote. Councilwoman Mosley.
Aye.
Councilwoman Roney.
Aye.
And myself, aye. The motion carries. Human Relations Commission. There are 2 vacancies. The chair recommends the appointments of Alex Nava and Tim Collins.
I support the chair's recommendations. Additionally, we will have another vacancy at our next opportunity because there has been a resignation. We also have a number of folks who have not yet been able to attend one of our virtual meetings for the HRCA. So we are looking to see if we may have additional openings as well. So I would move to recommend Alex and Tim to the Human Relations Commission, knowing that we will have an opportunity to seek the replacement for Davidson at a near date.
Second.
All right, roll call vote. Councilwoman Mosley?
Aye.
Hold for a moment.
Clarification. Councilmember Roney, you said that we would have the opportunity to appoint someone for Davidson at the next. These 2, this is for Will Overfelt and Davidson Jones.
Thank you for that clarification. What I mean to say is that we have very specific goals for the HRCA's membership. And so while these appointments would not address our goals, we may be able to address our goals at the next meeting.
Okay, was there a second?
Second.
All right, I'll do a roll call vote for approval. Councilwoman Mosley?
Aye.
Councilwoman Roney?
Aye.
And myself, aye. The motion carries. For the Multimodal Transportation Commission, there are 4 vacancies. The board chair recommends the reappointment of John Bassan for the transit seat, Kenneth Armstrong for the Greenway seat, and appointment of Bill Loftus and Michael Waddell's unexpired term for the transit seat. That is Bill Loftus, and Micah McLean for the Greenway seat.
So this is Kim. A couple of things about the logistics here. By filling the transit seat on the Multimodal Transportation Commission, we're also seating a member of the Transit Committee. So I've spoken to Bill Loftus about this, and his interest is more in bike and pedestrian facilities and multimodal as a whole, not necessarily specific to transit. So I have a motion to recommend John Basson and Kenneth Armstrong to the Transit and Greenway seat. They've been very active in those meetings, even though the meetings have been virtual. However, Carla Fernari has expressed interest in transit specifically and has GIS mapping skills that I think would be helpful to have at the table in future transit conversations. So I would make a motion to recommend Carla to the transit seat and Bill to the Greenway seat.
Okay. So if I'm understanding you correctly, for the transit seats, we have John Bassan and Carla Fernari. For the Greenway seat, Kenneth Armstrong and Micah McLean.
No, for the Greenway seat, it would be Kenneth Armstrong and Bill Loftus.
Okay, I get it. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. All right, I'll do a roll call vote for approval. Councilwoman Mosley?
Aye.
Councilwoman Roney?
Aye.
And myself, aye. The motion carries. All right, we have 3 upcoming vacancies for the TDA interviews. Well, TDA seat. We decided to go through an interview process. So for the 2 seats for lodging 101 rooms plus, and 1 for the lodging of 100 rooms or less. We received 3 eligible applications for 101 plus and 2 eligible applications for less than 100 rooms. Is there a recommendation from the for these candidates to interview? And that'll be on September the 14th.
Remind me, I don't have my paperwork up. Larry Crosby, the general manager of the Foundry, is that 100 or fewer? Okay.
Yes.
Correct.
I'm particularly interested in interviewing. And I'll just continue. I also had interest in Scott Kishner, but I don't know that we've decided how many we're going to interview.
And Scott Kishner is which
I think
city representing?
See, I think it was Element, but also 100 or fewer. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
This is a significant appointment for our city and our county. So I would be inclined to interview all 5. Is that correct?
Yes. We received 3, and for the 101 plus, and 2 for the 100 and less.
And the reason for my thinking on this is if we had, for any reason, a vacancy in the near future, we would have already had an established conversation with these candidates who are willing and interested to help us move along the conversation for the next appointment if they're available.
So I absolutely agree. So if your motion is to interview all 5, I'll second.
All right. With the motion in a second, I'll do a roll call vote for approval. Councilwoman Mosley,
Aye.
Councilwoman Roney,
Aye.
and myself, aye. The motion carries. We'll interview all 5. Sarah, on our next one, I'll pass this over to you. The actual City Board of Education had a resignation. So
Correct.
we can discuss that application process.
Perfect. And before I jump to that one, I do want to note for the TDA appointment process, the county is also in their appointment process, and I believe at least 1 or 2 are the same candidates. So I'm not sure when their appointments are, but we may have updates there. But we'll go ahead and schedule these interviews for our process in the meantime. And then also another update, I have confirmed with Dawa and team that our live public comment, we're good to go there. I do see 1 person in the queue if we want to do that part now, jump back up to the live public comment first, or
Since it's only 1 person, we'll do it after we finish our agenda items.
excellent. All right, so looking at the school board, we did have 1 member who will be resigning due to relocation. One of the requirements for the school board is that you must live within the school district. So as the council may recall, this past March and April, we did go through the process where the council interviewed and did essay questions for 7 candidates, 3 of which were appointed at that time, including the member who is resigning, Ms. Jacqueline McCarr. So the clerk's office today is requesting a recommendation or some direction on how you want to move forward with the appointment process. Do you want to look back at the March, April candidates and or reopen?
This is Kim. There's an additional note here that I just wanted to draw attention to the timing of the North Carolina Senate. They are going to be scheduling a conversation for tomorrow regarding the request for an elected school board. So it seems like we have 3 options here. 1 is to continue limiting the pool of our own candidates by choosing from the previously interviewed, consider all the candidates that applied from last year, which we usually do. We keep applications on for a year and then can pull from that list. Or we could reopen the application process, which is what I would suggest, because we have until November.
Well, actually, I'm wondering if we really do have until November, because my understanding, and it has not been confirmed, is that perhaps Ms. McCarr has actually already relocated. So if we can look into that, because I'd hate for there to be an empty seat at such an important time, because she may in fact technically not be eligible as we speak. I will tell you what I did do. I looked over all of the applications that we received, and not to the exclusion of everyone other than the ones we interviewed. And there was 1 candidate who really stood out to me, and that's George Seberg. It just so happens that we did, in fact, interview George. I was impressed with him for a couple of reasons. Well, let me give you a little more information. You all may remember that after we made our previous appointments, we received an email from George asking, what our impressions were. I called him and I was really impressed in our conversation. What impressed me most was he was still looking for ways where he could assist the children even after having not been selected. That stuck with me. So when I look at his resume, I see that he is a former teacher. And I'll go ahead and readily admit I have a thing for teachers. My mother was a teacher in the Asheville City school system for 30 years. And in fact, remember, Shanika, your mother worked really closely with my mom. He has an extensive background in finance. And I think at this particular moment in time, given the complexities that surround the finances of the school system, I think he would be a huge asset. He also has experience with the Asheville City Schools Foundation as a treasurer and also as an interim executive director. And he also has children currently in the Asheville City school system. So given the times we're in, given the fact that the resignation could take place before November, I'm prepared to put his name forward in motion for the full body to consider.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
I'll make a more formal motion so it can be clear. I move to recommend to the full council that George Seberg be appointed to the Asheville City Schools Board to be effective upon Ms. McHart's resignation.
Okay, I'll second that motion. I'm going to do a roll call vote for approval. Councilwoman Mosley?
Aye.
Councilwoman Roney?
No.
And myself, aye. The motion carries. We'll reach out to Mr. Seberg and let him know that he will replace Jackie McCard. Let me see, we have some unfinished business. On last month, there was a request to elevate the Transit Committee to a council-appointed commission. I believe after some conversations from our last meeting, plus a request from the Transit Committee and supporting staff, we're going to continue that to our September meeting. Is there any more discussion about that item? All right, lastly, we have a couple of updates from the clerk's office. We have a virtual meeting update.
Yes, just very quickly, I want to let the committee know that we have pivoted back to all of our committee meetings being held virtually. We are still using public input and streaming live to YouTube. So just a quick update to let you know that we are 100% back to virtual.
Sarah, this is Kim. I had a quick question about that. So there's a new blog post from the UNC School of Government about the virtual meetings and what can happen next. And the way that it is being read, and the way that I've also read it, is that we may be able to have our advisory boards meet virtually, fully, or in a hybrid setting. And I'm curious if in a future meeting, we might have a staff recommendation on if that's how it's being read as well, so that we can have virtual or hybrid meetings. I know I'm specifically thinking of the Urban Forestry Commission asked if it would help to reduce our carbon footprint if everyone wasn't driving to City Hall. It may reduce our vehicle miles traveled and increase accessibility.
And before I respond, I see Jerry has her hand up.
Not related to this, so just before we move on.
That's excellent news. I have not seen that blog post. Of course, we would do the whole legal, make sure that we're all on board. But I can say from the Kate perspective and the clerk's perspective, that is definitely, we've already been looking into what that might look like, but we want to, make sure one, the legality and all that fun stuff. But I do see a world where we can get there if everything, when we get the official thumbs up. And of course, as always, staff capacity and figuring out what that looks like will be a challenge, but it is something I know that we're invested in.
Thank you, Sarah.
Jerry has something to add or something else?
Yes, and I apologize, just stepping back to the school board recommendation again. I believe it was stated that George would be notified that he would be replacing McCard.
That has to be approved on tonight because
Right.
it's a recommendation of the committee. Thank you. And is there an update from the clerk's office about the Office of Data and Performance, the roadshow?
Yeah, I just want to give another quick update so the committee was aware that one of our newest offices, the Office of Data and Performance, we're teaming up with them to schedule or to get on agendas for advisory boards and commissions so they can give a quick update about the work of the new department, who's primarily responsible for focusing on project support and consulting, external engagement with the community, and data management and governance. So we saw this as a really great opportunity to connect with our boards and commissions. So we hope to get some good input from them and some partnerships maybe. So you'll be seeing that throughout the fall, hopefully starting September through December, seeing those at the advisory committees.
That's good. That's good news. Thank you for that. Any other comments from the committee before we open up the public comment? All right, having none, do we have anybody in speaker queue? I know we had one person before. Are they still there?
They are, so I will bring them in right now. Caller 0852, you are in the meeting. Caller 0852. Caller 8502, can you hear me? Don't seem to.
Caller, if you can hear us, you can speak now. If not, you have a few options. You can submit your comments by email to the committee, or we have a council meeting on tonight, and your comments are welcome during our public comment section then. But we'll stay on just a little while longer to see if you are listening live, then you should hear us prompting you.
Sarah, is there a city line, like an office line where this caller could call and you could just hold up the phone?
Ooh. Dawa, do you happen to still be with us?
I am, and I'm going to call in and test to make sure that the queue is working. We'll have some insight into whether or not it's the system or maybe the individual caller is still with us or having challenges. But yes, Sarah, you should not have any feedback issues. If you want to give a mobile phone number and ask the caller if they're still on the line to call into that, and then you can just put it on speaker and bring it into the meeting.
All right. Caller, if you can hear me, you're welcome to call area code 989-400-3054, and I can connect you via, I guess, the speakerphone to this meeting. Mr. Jensen, you are now live.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you so much for making the additional effort to fix your line. It wasn't working, but this is working, so thank you for that. My name is Jensen Gelfond. I'm a resident of West Asheville. I've lived in Asheville for over a decade, and I'm a local business owner. And I just wanted to comment on the process for putting forward a name for the boards and commissions for our Board of Education. It feels like this was an extremely rushed, no opportunity for debate, no opportunity for research, no opportunity for discussion. Even board member Mosley said that she wasn't sure whether this decision needed to be made now or in November. It feels very scattershot, and it feels like it's a disservice to our extremely important boards of education. They're making such important decisions. Our school system needs help. Jackie McCaig was a really solid member, and she was recommended by the Asheville City Association of Educators. They did not recommend George Seiberg, and it feels like this Boards and Commissions Committee owes it to our town to do greater research and to actually have a true process that is transparent, that includes debate, that includes bringing in voices who know what's best for our kids. And I would say that the Asheville City Association of Educators works day in and day out on these things, while the Boards and Commissions Committee has to work on a variety of different issues. So I honestly was a little offended when this was just pushed through so quickly and with a lack of care. It really makes me sad to see that this is the process that we're appointing school board members for. I'm going to ask that you all do better in the future, and to make this a truly collaborative process that involves a conversation with community and stakeholders, and that you do right by our children by working harder and not just ramming one name through with zero discussion. Thank you.
All right, thank you for the effort that was made to connect that caller. I do feel inclined to address the caller's comment. I normally don't. It's not a part of protocol to do that, but I take it that this will be an ongoing discussion, and we will receive a lot of feedback about our process and about the recommendation that we're moving forward to council on tonight. I want to remind the public that there was robust discussion about what our process would be in selecting school board members. We had at least 2 different meetings where we had discussion about what our process would be. We then accepted applications. We decided what the application pool would be reduced to, so that we can later interview those individuals chosen by the committee, approved by the larger board. Since that process decision, since those interviewees were chosen, and later 3 appointments then approved by the majority of council, not all of council, but the majority of council. That was at least a few months ago. We are not starting from ground zero. At the resignation, it has been decided by this committee that we will not reopen the application process. We are just a few months shy of making our decision and feeling confident, most of us, about our process. So I don't want it to be conveyed that we are just randomly choosing and selecting process, nor a recommendation to move forward tonight. We did extensive research individually on the candidates that we chose, making telephone calls, also looking through some of the Q&A selected by the Teacher Association. I think we all decided, committee, council, and the Teacher Association, that Miss Jackie was a star among the applicants. We can agree to disagree in a lot of things, and here we're going to have to agree to disagree. But transparency, this process is not absent of transparency nor notice. Boards and commissions is, notified a lot. Our process notified very publicly. So that's my comment to the caller and anyone else who has questioned about our process, our selection, or the recommendation that we're putting forth on tonight. There is care and consideration. I can only speak for myself, but I would say that there is some agreement among the majority. So I think that is the end of our meeting. Are there any more comments from the committee? With no comments from the rest of the committee, this meeting is adjourned.